a medical team came up with a vaccine for COVID, and they tested it on several individuals to see if the vaccine works. Sounds good. HO, the null hypothesis, the vaccine does not work. H1, the vaccine does work. They performed this test at the 0.05 significance level. The p-value came out to be 0.02. Explain in a few sentences what this p-value means. That's what this is all about. What does that mean? Also explain what it means about H0 and H1. Which one, H0, H1, is assumed to be true at the start of every hypothesis test? Which one do we go with in the event of weak evidence or strong evidence? Why? What does this have to do with p-value and what the p-value means in real life? On the final exam, you will be asked a very similar question, and you will be required to write a few sentences explaining this. So this is the second, there's only 2 of these, where I actually ask you to write a few sentences. Again, a few sentences will be required on the final exam, so make sure you can explain all this. You can write it out on your notes ahead of time. Go ahead and just write out what you want to say. Now, I'm going to change the situation. It's not going to be exactly like this. I'm going to change the situation. I'm going to change the p-value. So, you can't just verbatim copy. It's not going to be exactly the same as this scenario. But, feel free to write out what your understanding is and, on your notes, and then put something like that down on the test. I think that's what I'm hoping you'll do. That's not cheating at all. I want you to spend time ahead of time writing out your thoughts on, reading my thoughts and writing out your thoughts, but you have to really understand it. It's not going to work to just copy this because I'm going to change it on the final. It's going to be different. So you have to really understand the concept. These words, let these words inform you of the concept and then give me the concept. So this is what I would say is the second most important concept in our whole entire class. So I want to make 2 questions. After this, it's back to regular. The rest of them are just normal, kind of questions. But I just wanted to give you 2 questions where you write words. I was just thinking that it's important that you can put these things in your own words because that shows real understanding of 2 concepts. Number 1 was the whole thing about the difference between an observational study and an experiment, and the fact that correlation is not necessarily causation. That's the most important concept in this class and in society today. And number 2 is what a p-value is. All of our hypothesis tests came down to a p-value. P-value is the most important, the second most important thing we did this semester. So what is it? What does it really mean? Well, here we go. Here's multiple choice. Again, would you like me to put multiple choice like this on the final exam? You got this one, and you got I don't know. Which one do you think is right? Again, it's not going to be multiple choice on the final. I'm just doing this to get you through your practice final here. All right. The p-value, here we go, is the probability that H0 is true and the results of the study are random luck. In other words, the p-value is the probability that the COVID vaccine does not really work and the results from the study were just luck. Since the p-value is 2%, there is only a 2% chance that the results were just luck. Now, let me hold on there for a minute. Are you understanding? Are you getting what the p-value is? One more time. The p-value is the probability. Well, back up here. The p-value is the probability that H0 is true and the results are just random luck. So write that in your notes. The p-value, what is it? It's if the H0 is true, it's the probability, P stands for probability, of getting these results by random luck. That's what the p-value is. It says if the null is true. Well, what's the null in this case? Right here it says the null is the vaccine does not work. So if that's true, that's why I'm saying right here, the COVID vaccine does not really work, and the results from the study were just luck. And since the p-value is 2%, right here it says 2%, right? Since the p-value is 2%, that means there's only a 2% chance that the results were just luck. This is a very low chance of luck, lower than the 5% significance level, right here, 5% significance level, required. Just making sense so far. A p-value is the probability that if the H0 is true, that you would just get these random results by luck. It's the probability of lucky results. So if it's really low, 2% is a low chance, right? That's a very low chance. If you're playing some game and you only have a 2% chance of winning, that's pretty darn low. So if the p-value comes out really low, like 2%, lower than the significance level, that means there's strong evidence that the vaccine really works, right? That means there's only, if the vaccine is really not working, if it really does not work, there would only be a 2% chance that we would get these results. So therefore, we think no way that the vaccine does not work. The vaccine must really work. If the vaccine didn't work, we'd only have a 2% chance of getting these results. That's not believable. I don't believe that the vaccine doesn't work and that just by random luck, 2% chance, we got these results. That's not believable. The null is always assumed to be true. And I asked which one is assumed to be true. Remember, the null is always assumed to be true at first, like innocence in a criminal case. Remember, in a court of law, they always assume the null is true, don't they? They assume the null is true. In a court of law, they assume when somebody is accused, we assume they're innocent right away. And if the evidence is weak, we keep that assumption and we let them go. We say, well, we assumed they were innocent. The evidence is weak, didn't change our mind. We continue to assume they're innocent, let them go. But if the p-value is really low, if there's a low chance that it was just luck, right? Like in a court of law, if they have a bunch of evidence that's strong evidence, like blood samples and 3 or 4 eyewitnesses that were there and saw the person, commit the crime, we go, could that have all been luck? Just a random group of people happened to be there and they all thought the guy looked like the guy who did the crime, and then we have his blood samples there. Think that's all luck? There's not a very good chance that's of luck. No way. We don't believe that was luck. We think this guy really did it, right? If it gets really low, but if it's higher, like if you just have, somebody that from a distance thought they saw somebody like that, you don't have any biological evidence, blood evidence or anything else, then you might think, I don't know, that could have just been luck that somebody was there that kind of looked like the guy, and that could have been luck. I'm not going to put him away in prison for years and years based on that kind of evidence. That could have just been luck. But if the chance of luck is super low because you have strong evidence, then when the p-value is low, as it is here at 2%, there is very low chance that the results were just luck. And so we reject the null, the assumption, and we go with H1 because the evidence is strong. So that's what a p-value. So what I'll be looking for in that question is these kinds of words. I'll be looking for you to say what a p-value is as it relates to the specific word problem I give you on the final. This one's the COVID vaccine. It'll be something else on the final. And I'll want you to talk about what a p-value is in general, what the p-value is specifically on the one I gave you on the final, how it relates to the significance level, what that means about strong evidence and weak evidence. What does that mean about real life? What does that mean about our assumptions? Which ones assumed? And what do we conclude? So I want to see that you really understand what a p-value is, that you can put it in your own words and apply it to a real life situation. It's been the basis of every one of our hypothesis tests. P-value is the probability that the results are just luck if the null is true. That's the second most important thing in this class, is what a p-value is. It's if the null is true, it's the probability of getting these results by random luck. That's why when it gets really, really low, we don't believe in luck anymore. And instead, we believe that something's really going on. Questions I can answer on that one?
I have one, Mr. Heron.
Yeah.
Um, just in this question specifically, um, the options for HO and H1, HO is not always does not work, and H1 is not always do work, correct? It's
Well
just
said.
only in this.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. They could switch that up. You're totally right.
Yeah. I just want to know because just the way we lay everything out and accordingly, it doesn't make sense that the vaccine does not work if P is equal to P for HO. We always know that HO is equal to, and then everything else that you had said conservatively doesn't make sense towards this question. But those are the two options we have to choose from. I just wanted to clear that up.
Yep, you're right. They could switch that up. You are right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Other questions on this one?